I will call this Tigard City Council Local Contract Review Board and Town Center Development Agency meeting to order. City Recorder Krieger, please call roll.
Councillor Robbins,
Here.
Councillor Slack,
Here.
Councillor Shaw, Godusi,
Present.
Councillor Hu,
Here.
Mayor Lube.
Here. Thank you. If everyone will please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, everyone. We will move on to public comment. If you'd like to provide public comment, by phone or by video, please call in or log in now to get into the queue. The phone number is 503-966-4101. Anyone wishing to have public comment in the room, there is a sign-up sheet at the entrance of the room. We do not have any written public comments that were received in time. We don't have anyone signed up in person. Mr. Wold, do we have anyone who has called in or logged in to provide electronic public comment?
Mayor, there are no callers in the queue and no requests for video comment.
Okay, thank you so much. We will move on to the city manager report with interim city manager Tritch.
Good evening, council, Tigard teammates, community members, interim city manager Tritch for my last council meeting with you all as interim city manager. I wanted to recognize more than 30 team members who have served our country or are currently serving on behalf of the United States as we honor Memorial Day celebration yesterday. That's nearly 10% of our workforce who have provided public service and continue to do so here with the City of Tigard. We're grateful for their courage and their sacrifice. I wanted to share also a couple of updates for you. The Los Empresarios group met last Thursday with 22 participants. This is our Spanish language business entrepreneur program. During this meeting, they discussed AI and marketing and also answered questions on food cart regulations. I want to take a moment also to recognize the number of volunteers that make Tigard work well. In this case, our Tigard Public Library is recognizing the dedicated volunteers that have donated the equivalent of years of working time with the time that they commit. Individuals who have contributed more than 2,500 hours, which is equivalent to more than 1 year of full-time work. And our top volunteer has contributed 9,500 hours to the library, and that's more than 4.5 years of full-time equivalent work, just from one volunteer. A couple of events for you to put on your calendar. Community members can bring their fiber arts, knitting, crocheting, weaving, and sewing, to a fiber arts meetup on Sunday afternoon, June 1st, 3:30. Anyone from beginner to advanced is welcome. And Tigard teens are encouraged to write on this summer, which is contributing to a teen summer zine beginning June 1st. Teens can submit their short stories, poems, book reviews, and more to the library for publication. And the library will draw a winner for a $50 Powell's gift card, thanks to friends of the Tigard Public Library. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah, Councillor Schlack.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to take this opportunity to thank Interim City Manager Tritch for serving as our Interim City Manager and Budget Officer for the last several weeks. It's always been a pleasure to work with you. It's been a pleasure to work with you in this capacity, and I look forward to continue working with you when you resume your role as Deputy City Manager in the next few days.
And I hope you very much enjoy the vacation that you are going to have after this. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which is used for routine items such as approvals of contracts or intergovernmental agreements. The it may be enacted in one motion, or items may be removed and discussed separately. Tonight on the consent agenda, we have a library automated materials handling replacement project and the Red Rock Creek stabilization and enhancement project. Does anyone have any questions regarding the consent agenda or a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all of those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is adopted by unanimous vote of the council. The next item on the agenda is a legislative public hearing on amending Tigard Municipal Code, Chapter 15.16, regarding encroachments. I will open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to testify by phone or video, please log in now to get into the queue. And the phone number again is 503-966-4101. Anyone wishing to comment on this item, there is a sign-up sheet at the entrance of the room. And we have City Engineer Wisniewski here. Welcome.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council, and members of the public that's here for the public hearing for Municipal Code 15.16 for encroachments. City staff have been working to address the presence of materials, equipment, and debris that have been placed in the right-of-way for some time now. Many of these items are related to new construction, landscaping, and then sometimes just shipping containers for people needing to move either into the city or out of the city when they're buying and selling properties. Residents have also requested, I should probably just follow my script. I got ahead of myself. Residents have also requested the ability to place dumpsters, shipping containers, and landscaping materials within the right-of-way on a temporary basis when there's inadequate space available for those items to be placed on private property. The code amendment in front of you tonight is to address these items so that staff can establish a permitting process to be able to enforce these items and assure that our right-of-way is kept clean, and also give people the ability to use that space when it is the last resort for placing many of these items. The code as it stands today does allow for encroachment permits, but the revisions today just expand on that code and provide further guidance to the public on what we see as being allowable uses. There is still some reservation in the code for city engineer approval when it comes to like traffic safety impacts, use of parking spaces, those kind of things. So prior to tonight, we did receive some questions from members of council and also one proposed amendment. So I'll go through those first and then open it up to see if there's any questions for tonight. So the first question from Councilor Schlack was, what prompted the right-of-way ordinance changes, and was it a particular incident or series of incidents? It wasn't really one particular incident. It was more of a series of incidents and ongoing issues that we are seeing in the right-of-way citywide. A lot of it is due to a lot of construction that we're seeing, which is a great thing for the city. It's showing growth, but it's also showing that sizes of our parcels and our lots don't facilitate a lot of new construction. And then with construction also comes with a lot of people moving in and out as well, needing space for these containers. With that, the preference is always for these items to be placed on private property first. So the application process will require applicants to demonstrate the right-of-way is the last resort for these items. And it isn't a guarantee that they can use that space. So our department, engineering department, will make sure it's reviewed through a lens of safety to assure that pedestrians and vehicles can still get through the right-of-way safely. The next question was from Council President Wolf. The AIS references temporary nature of the request and reference the typical length of time, but nowhere in the chapter is it defined. That's a really good question and discrepancy between the AIS and the code. And what the code does allow is it's subject to the terms the city engineer can apply to the application. And so the temporary nature will be defined in the application itself. So like a shipping container, it's reasonable to assume up to 7 days of time for a container to be delivered, people to move their belongings into it and have it shipped out. But we also want to balance out the longer period of time that could relate or result in like blight or prolonged use of that right away. So we came up with a 7-day time period as kind of the guideline, and that depending on the circumstances, that can be altered based on the project or the type of need.
So Joe, thank you. So then really what you're saying is that it's clear, expectations are clear for the person requesting the permit once that is agreed on or approved. Okay.
Correct. That'll all be
Perfect.
defined in the application itself. Yep. And then we had one final question before the proposed amendment from city manager. Did we reach out to businesses that would be impacted by this to ensure that they can meet the requirements? We did not reach out to the businesses, but we did do significant research of what other agencies, even nationwide, are doing, just to see who some of these shipping container firms are nationwide. And we feel that the minimum requirements that we're putting on there are reasonable for any one of these companies to be able to accommodate, and it's really following traffic safety guidelines. An example would be traffic cones around the device or conspicuity tape, which is the white and red reflective tape that you see on a lot of construction equipment, those kind of things. As minimum standards, we feel those are reasonable to require, and without that, wouldn't feel comfortable permitting something below those standards for safety. So the proposed amendment was from Councilor Shaw, and Councilor was asking about making an amendment to section A.8 under standards of approval, so that it would read, the proposed encroachment may not be placed in an area with parking restrictions, such as loading zones, no parking, or accessible parking spaces, and the revision is adding unless otherwise permitted by the city engineer. And the context to that question was more, we have many streets that are very narrow in width, and depending on the need, there may be reason for the city engineer to allow placement of a device in an area that is currently a no parking zone if there's adequate safety provisions put in place for that. Some places it just can't be safe for that, so I just want to add that little caveat on there that just because we're saying subject to city engineer approval doesn't mean that I can or will approve it at all times, but I appreciate that question and that suggestion that we have the ability to allow placement in the right scenario. So if there is interest by council in making such amendment, staff would support it.
And perhaps just adding some further context, in the city, there's some arbitrariness about when a city street has been determined no parking on one side versus other streets that are smaller in width, but yet you can park on both sides. And so this just accounts for that. And then also some driveways are very steep and may not have the ability to either put a pod or a dumpster on. So this, per the city engineer's review, allows that to be possible and permissible. So thank you.
Would you state the section one more time? Just
Yes, it's under standards of approval, it's section A and subsection 8, or
Perfect.
item number 8.
thanks.
And the only revision was adding unless otherwise permitted by the city engineer.
This is on page 3 of the PDF that's attached to the agenda.
And I know we're in a public hearing, but I'm willing to take any further questions, or not sure if we need to close the hearing before that.
So we will go on to public testimony, and then we'll do questions. There were no written public comments that were received on this item. Mr. Wold, are there any phone callers in the queue or anyone wishing to testify by video this evening?
Mayor, there are no callers in the queue and no requests for a video comment.
Okay, thank you so much. We don't have anyone signed up in person, so we can move on to questions. Please make sure that they are questions and not comments or statements regarding this. We will close the public hearing, and then we can have deliberation. Councilor Robbins?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Engineer. Was this key? Is that close?
Wisniewski, but-
Wisniewski. I'll get it. So before this amendment, we didn't have any restrictions on pods or containers. Is that correct?
So we had code section about encroachments, but it was staff's opinion too general to really regulate a lot of the uses. The code language, and I'll paraphrase it a little bit, basically would say no encroachment can exist without a permit. So we could rely on that, but this is because of the amount of use that we're starting to see in the right-of-way. We found the need to bring more defined language for what we are willing to consider in the right-of-way.
Okay, then are we going to notify the pod-type companies that we're going to require this? Because I know when we moved here, we used a pod, and I would have had no idea that we would have needed a permit. And also, I think you show up at this house that you're buying, and then the pod delivery guy shows up and says, there's nowhere for me to put this. And that seems like an inopportune time to then need to get a permit, right? Everything's already there. Usually you're planning in advance. And I can't imagine I'm the only person who wouldn't have thought of that. So are we going to make sure that the companies know? Because otherwise people are going to be moving and signing up for this and having no idea.
Yeah, there's a handful of companies that I'm aware of that provide this service. So we're going to do as much outreach as we can, informing folks that this is a new requirement. But I don't want to assure that we're going to be able to hit every company just because of the nature of nationwide companies shipping in and out of the area. But we will reach out to the bigger companies that are known and do our research to reach out to the ones the best we can.
Okay, and then what happens? I appreciate that, and I think that's pretty much all we can do, right, is hope we tell everyone and they tell people. But then what happens when somebody moves or moving in from out of the area, they have their pod delivered, and then turns out they don't have a permit? Will they get fined? What happens?
So there is, and I don't have the penalty in front of me, but there is a enforcement, bear with me 1 second here and I can find it for you. There it is. I think it's at the end of the code language of what the penalty, so failure to obtain the encroachment permit or comply with the terms is subject to a civil infraction as defined in chapter 1.16. So there is language about that. I would assume that our code enforcement and our police department would do their best to educate first. But depending on the severity of the issue, we do have the civil penalties spelled out.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Gaducy?
Thank you. Do we have current fees established, or is that something that we would have to come up with as well?
So we do have current fees established in our fees and charges schedule for both permanent and temporary encroachments. And that just made me think one more thing about temporary is part of this exercise is also codifying the revisions that we put in place for during COVID about the right-of-way seating for establishments for eating. So we're bringing some of that language into the code as well, and that's where the temporary fee came from, was during the COVID time. So long answer to yes, we have the fees established.
Do you happen to know what it is off the top of your head? If not, that's fine.
I don't, but I'm happy to report back.
And another question from the standards and conditions, standards for approval, part 3, the discussion of vision clearance area. Is that a defined area from a street, intersection, or driveway, or is that arbitrary, or does it change?
So our development code actually does spell out the vision clearance areas, but then it would also be subject to making sure that the shipping containers and pods don't also block like stop signs, other regulatory traffic signs, and those are all the things that we would review as part of a permit application.
Any additional questions? Yeah, Counselor Hu?
Thank you, Mayor. So if a permit was revoked, up to 30 days or shorter, and the applicant still doesn't move their stuff, and there's provisions that the city may step in and do it and then put the cost as a lien later. So how long does the city usually wait before you actually step in and start doing all those stuff?
Yeah, the one thing with our enforcement and code is it's a lot of complaint driven. So I don't have a really good answer at the time frame for that, but we would investigate complaints as they come in based on the severity of it, very timely. Our code enforcement officer and police are very responsive to those items. But with this code language being something new that we're trying to bring in to regulate current activities, We don't have a time frame based on history because we haven't been able to regulate a lot of this yet.
Okay. How much does it cost to record a lien with the county, do you know?
I don't know that, and I don't know if we've ever done that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Because the code doesn't allow the lien to include the fee of the lien, right? The way I'm reading it. So I don't know how much the cost of recording a lien is, but the code right now doesn't seem to, this is a question, doesn't seem to allow the city to recover the lien costs, so.
I think City Attorney Rahala can
Okay.
step in and answer this.
Yeah, thanks, Council. So I don't know offhand the cost of recording the lien, but typically the city's cost, the most significant portion of it would be the actual remediation of the nuisance itself. It would be having a company come and move it, which, given the situation, unless it was some extraordinary risk to public safety, would absolutely be a last resort just because of the so many complicated factors involved in it.
Any additional questions? Okay. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. And now we have council consideration of ordinance 25-04. Additional questions or comments?
I support the ordinance and support the proposed amendment by Councilor Shaw, although I would need to hear it back in order to amend on the floor.
Do you have a copy of it?
The proposed amendment?
Yeah.
So the proposed amendment would be to section A.8. Oh, do you want to be able to read it? I can just bring it to you.
Well, I think we'd all just, can you read it out one more time?
Sure. So under standards of approval, it's section A.8. Line 8 would read, the proposed encroachment may not be placed in an area with parking restrictions, such as loading zone, no parking, or accessible parking spaces, unless otherwise permitted by the city engineer.
Okay. I think in the future, if there is, we know that there is a proposed amendment, if we can make copies for everybody, because I think we all like to be able to see it. I think that would be helpful in the future.
I can take a stab at that. Councilor Hu always gets to amend on the floor, I feel like, so I want to try. I move to amend section A.8 of the ordinance and insert after the word spaces the following, quote, unless otherwise permitted by the city engineer, end quote.
Do you by chance just want to move for approval with an amendment on the item?
I'm happy to revise my motion. I withdraw that motion, and I now move to approve ordinance number 25-04, an ordinance amending Tigard Municipal Code, Chapter 15.16, regarding temporary encroachments and construction materials in the right-of-way, with the following amendment to Section A.8. And that amendment is to insert after the word spaces the following language, quote, unless otherwise permitted by the city engineer, end quote.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on, Councilor Hu?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just wondering if there's appetite to also, I know it's probably rare, but when we put lien on a property, do we also want to recover the costs associated with placing the lien, or are we okay just recover the costs for the actual restoration?
I have a question for City Attorney Rahala. Are there other circumstances in which we would recover the cost of like a lien in other places in our code?
So I'd like to check what our other chapters say and not act on that tonight. My preference would be to keep it consistent with other nuisance abatement actions, and I'm not sure in those cases what the lien actually encompasses. I will say in my 10 years working with Tigard that we've never done an abatement, right? Knock on wood, we've never done an abatement like that, so it would be really uncommon. But I would like to see what we do, what the code says about other chapters, just so that we're consistent in our lien applications.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Are you okay with that,
I'm
Councilor
okay
Hu?
with it, and also maybe legal costs, not just the recording fees though. So yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, will the city recorder please read the number and title of the ordinance?
Ordinance number 25-04, an ordinance amending Tigard Municipal Code, Chapter 15.16, regarding temporary encroachments and construction materials in the right-of-way, as amended with the following language to Section A8, inserting this at the end, unless otherwise permitted by the city engineer.
Thank you. Will the city recorder conduct a roll call vote, starting with the youth counselor for an advisory vote?
Youth Counselor Manini,
Yes.
Counselor Robbins,
Yes.
Counselor Schlack,
Yes.
Counselor Shaw,
Yes.
Council President Wolf,
Yes.
Counselor Godusi,
Yes.
Counselor Hu,
Yes.
Mayor Lube.
Yes. The motion is adopted by unanimous vote of the council. Thank you. The next item on the agenda, Joe, you're back again, is to consider property at 13001 Southwest Gallon Court as surplus real property.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening again, Council. So this item is for a piece of property that the city owns at 13,001 Southwest Gallon Court, and it also contains a residential structure. The property was purchased by the city in January 23 of 2013 as a result of a settlement with the former owner to complete a capital improvement project along Kruger Creek. The project work was recently completed near this property, and the city has no further need for the property or the residential structure. On the screen here, and I believe it was also in your packet, is a location map. You can see the shaded blue property there. Backing up to Kruger Creek, it's just off 129th Avenue, and the streets around there would be Gardy Street, Greenfield, and Morningstar Drive. The project that was recently completed was the Kruger Creek CIP project that included stream stabilization and a lot of erosion improvements for the corridor. We did have a few questions that came in before tonight, and I'd like to go through them next, and then we can see if there's any additional questions or history that I can help provide for this action tonight. The first question was Councilor Schlack. What are the ongoing costs, and from which fund are they paid for or paid from of the property that is proposed to be sold? The annual estimated expenses for the ongoing maintenance of the property is budgeted at $9,840 per year. And this is paid for primarily out of the facility operating budget. And these expenses are comprised of property management and a maintenance contract, or mowing and those kind of services. Annual insurance premiums for the property, which are at a higher premium because it's an unoccupied structure. Also includes some utilities, so even though it's not occupied, the structure was used for storage. So we did have some electric, gas, water, and sewer fees. And then, not necessarily every year, but during that time period, we did have heating and ventilation services, pressure washing, and some fence repair that was completed. So to recap, it's about $9,840 per year over that period of time that we have been paying for to maintain this property. The next question was from Council President Wolf. Has no one lived in the house over the past decade? And Council President assumes the action is to sell at the best market price. The house isn't occupied and is currently, or was being used by various departments for storage. So we had Friends of the Library had some books in there. The city streets department had some of our traffic signal and rapid flashing beacon type things in there. I believe at one point we even had Safe Roads to School storing some bikes and those kind of things. So it had a garage. So
Typical things you would put in a garage,
in the living
right?
room. You wouldn't believe what you could find that you could place in the living room. And then, yes, the staff recommendation is to sell the property at the best market price possible. The final question received was from city manager, and Actually, I should clarify, the city manager questions are from incoming city manager. I imagine we will work with a local realtor to put it on the market and any possibility for this to be affordable housing. So the first part of that is our contracts and purchasing division and our facility division are working together right now on a request for proposals to retain a realtor to help with marketing and selling the property. Regarding affordable housing, my understanding is the history of purchasing the property was to facilitate the capital improvement project, and that we've committed to the public that we would sell it on open market back to the best price. The property was originally purchased with utility funds, and our goal and intent is to sell the property and return those funds to the utility fund that originally purchased the property. That's not to say that an affordable housing company or manager or entity couldn't look at purchasing it as well, but the staff recommendation is to sell it on open market at the best price possible. With that, that concludes the staff report, and the staff's recommendation is for council to consider the resolution in front of you tonight to deem this property as surplus and authorize the city manager to take steps appropriate for selling the property.
Thank you. Any additional questions? A motion?
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 25-16.
I second it.
It's been moved in second. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, will the city recorder read the name and number of the resolution?
Resolution number 25-16, a resolution declaring the property located at 13001 Southwest Gallen Court surplus real property.
Thank you. Will the city recorder conduct a roll call vote, starting with Youth Councilor Mainini for an advisory vote?
Youth Councilor Manini,
Yes.
Councilor Schlack,
Yes.
Councilor Shaw,
Yes.
Councilor Robbins,
Yes.
Council President Wolf,
Yes.
Councilor Godusi,
Yes.
Councilor Hu,
Yes.
Mayor Lube.
Yes. The motion is adopted by unanimous vote of the council. Thank you.
Thanks.
I will now convene the Tigard's Town Center Development Agency for the next item. And the next item on the agenda is the Town Center Development Agency Tigard Triangle Property Acquisition. And we have Redevelopment Manager Farrelly to give the report. Welcome, Sean.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Lube and the directors of the Town Center Development Agency Board. Sean Farrelly, Redevelopment Manager, and tonight the board is requested to ratify a purchase and sale agreement, which is Exhibit 1 in your packet, and approve the property acquisition of 10.39 acres located at 11620 Southwest Pacific Highway in the Tiger Triangle for $12 million contingent on satisfaction of the conditions as determined by the city attorney and the TCDA executive director. Okay, we've already gone to the next slide. So parks are a real critical component in building a complete community, which is the goal in the Tiger Triangle and the Tiger Triangle TIF plan. In the TIF plan, public spaces are one of the main priorities of the plan. The adopted Tiger Triangle Equitable Implementation Plan identified parkland as one of the top priorities for the district. Currently, there are no parks in the Tiger Triangle. Next slide. Oh, that's right. So TCDA staff looked at a few sites and identified the former Tigard Cinemas site, which is 3 parcels that total 10.39 acres. As a property that would provide a suitable area for a new park. A large part of it is flat. And there is also a potential opportunity to look at a public-private partnership to construct new housing, infrastructure, or facilities. There's also land for the Red Rock Creek Stabilization Project, which will help meet the needs of stormwater in a large section of the Tiger Triangle. And this project is scheduled to begin this summer. Next slide. As you know, there's been a surge in development in the Tiger Triangle, especially in the past 5 years. About 800 units built or under construction. Another 30% of those units are regulated affordable housing, and the TCDA has made substantial investments in many of those projects. There's another potential 1,000 units in the pipeline. So there could be up to almost 4,500 new residents. And again, there are no parks in the triangle. Next slide. So when considering this property, we wanted to get a sense of what could fit on the site. This is just a concept. We just want to get our heads around it. We'll be talking to the community stakeholders about what they'd like to see and the feasibility of those desires. But the end result will include at least a park, the greenway for the Red Rock Creek, new streets and street frontage improvements, as well as the Red Rock Creek Trail. Next slide. So again, just a concept that we worked briefly with with a consultant, but it shows how a park would complement the Red Rock Creek enhancements. I think it also really gives a sense that this could be a real lively center for the triangle and create an identity in the triangle. So it could be a real key project. Next slide. So the funding sources are TIF and CIP funds that have been budgeted. For anyone watching at home, TIF funds are the property taxes that are generated within a defined TIF district. As the property taxes increase, that increment of new property taxes goes back to invest in projects in the district, and those projects are outlined in a plan that was adopted. So the current budget had included $3.8 million for parkland acquisition, so that would be a source. There is a reallocation of some TCDA funds that were not going to be spent this fiscal year. That's $1.8 million. For the Red Rock Stormwater Project, we had been planning to buy an easement here. There will also be some savings that are realized by acquiring the property, so that's about $1.4 million. And then the final $5 million will be paid for with a loan that will be repaid with TIF that's generated in the district. So there will be some constraints on the Triangle TIF fund for about 3 to 4 years, but we will be able to do a limited number of other projects as we work on fulfilling the vision for this property. When you look at it, it's about 5% of the $188 million of TIF funds would be spent on this acquisition. So, next slide. This project, this potential acquisition, I think would be a real key investment, as I mentioned, in implementing the triangle, in getting a park and some other development that will revitalize the triangle and generate some TIF. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Sean. I have a question for Interim City Manager Trich. With the significant changes to the TIF budget and us going through the budget cycle, is this a scenario in which we should change the budget to accurately reflect what next year is actually going to look like with these potentially new constraints?
Thank you, Mayor. That's a great question. I might invite Finance Director King to weigh in, just so we're reflecting the true nature of the FY26 budget, if he's available. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. For the record, Finance Director Eric King here. So as far as this action and its relevance to the TCDA budget, my recommendation would be to have an amendment that is prepared for the budget for the fiscal year 25, as well as consider amendments for fiscal year 26 budget as a separate action.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Yeah, I think considering we're going into next year's budget cycle, it's probably best to have the most accurate reflection of the money that we have in TCDA moving forward. So look forward to having those amendments available so the budget document accurately reflects it. Thank you so much. I think, this is something that the Tigard City Council has been talking about in negotiations, and we might be tired of talking about it, but for the community hearing about it the first time, this is an incredibly exciting thing to have such a large piece of property and to be able to address some of the needs in Tigard Triangle, to have parks and to be able to look at that property as a whole. So it's very exciting that this is moving forward. Are there any additional questions or comments from anyone? Yeah, Councilor Slack?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I totally agree. This is a really exciting opportunity for the council, the city, and the community. I was reflecting on this vote that's coming up, to potentially acquire the park, and I was thinking about how this is going to be one of the biggest, I think, decisions that we're going to take as a council, or I should say as a TCDA board, for quite some time, just considering the amount of capital involved, the sort of ongoing constraints to the budget. At the end of the day, we're here to make tough decisions, and I think the trade-offs are worth it. This is going to be a landmark project for the Tigard Triangle, significant investment, and I look forward to voting in favor of it.
Council President?
Nothing really to add except to ditto Councilor Schlack. I think it's an amazing investment opportunity for us to really make that impact for those families in the area and for Tigard. Just really excited. So thank you, Mayor.
Director Shaw.
Thank you. Excited also for the opportunity and also to have a potential public-private partnership where housing can be developed in that area. So I think it shows again that Tigard is ahead of its time, perhaps shoots for that moon often, but really accounts for our 5Es. So thank you very much to staff for all the hard work and to my fellow directors. Thank you.
Yeah, Director Gadusi.
With that, I move to ratify the purchase and sale agreement to acquire approximately 10.39 acres located at 11626 Southwest Pacific Highway, contingent on satisfaction of conditions as determined by the city attorney, and authorize the TCDA executive director to effectuate the transaction.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Yeah, Director Hu.
Thank you, Chair. I was during the negotiation, I was reluctant to purchase the whole thing. I was really interested in the park, but after hearing about the opportunity for public-private development, as well as the recent presentation from our library director about our community desire for more community space. So I think that changed my mind. Actually, it's our library director's presentation. With that, I'm looking forward to voting for it because I think it comes an exciting opportunity to give our community member what they want, which is a community space. So thank you.
Yeah, Director Robbins.
Thank you. Just echoing everyone else, I'm really excited about this, but I am also really excited that we're going to have a gorgeous park on the other side of town. We have Cook Park, which is huge. We have Summer Lake Park, and to have something that's that big on more towards 5 and near some of the other commercial areas for the people who live there, I'm really excited to see what comes from that.
Yeah, I hope it continues to be a catalyst for what else can happen in the Tigard Triangle. Okay, seeing no additional comments, will the city recorder conduct a roll call vote, please?
Director Robbins.
Yes.
Director Schlack.
Yes.
Director Shaw.
Yes.
Director Wolf.
Yes.
Okay, Director Gadusi.
Yes.
Director Hu.
Yes.
Chair Lube.
Yes. And the motion is adopted by unanimous vote of the Town Center Development Agency. Thank you, everyone. We have no executive session scheduled, and our agenda is completed, and so we are adjourned. Thank you so much. Good night, Tigard.